Mark Twain once said, loyalty to country, always. Loyalty to government, when it deserves it. Keep this in mind as we discuss today India's recent talks with Taliban and what does it mean for the future relations between the arch enemies, India and Pakistan. My name is Dr. David Oualaalou.
And my name is Dr. Ross Stewart.
And you are watching Geopolitics in Conflict.
Thank you again for your comments. Keep them coming. They not only give us useful feedback, they give us information that we didn't have access to. Thank you.
Indeed, Ross. We also wanted to thank our Patreon members for their support. Thank you for that. And for you, if you like our videos and you want to support us, consider subscribing to our Patreon membership. Once again, thank you very much for your support.
David, what planet am I living on? This news about Taliban in consultation with India, what on earth? I mean, the United States is trying to sneak out the door, and India is talking to them.
Indeed, Ross. As a matter of fact, what has not been reported a lot is that there have been some secret talks between India and Pakistan. Believe it or not. I know, this might come as shocking. They have been, and those talks were facilitated by the United Arab Emirates. Yeah, so there have been some talks there. But all this, just to give you a background of why is this important? Because whoever thought that India will be talking to the Taliban, especially after what Taliban did to India to humiliate them back in 1999 after the hijacking of the plane.
Oh, yeah.
So our issue was the plane was hijacked actually back in December 24, 1999. It was on a flight from Kathmandu in Nepal to Gandhi International Airport. And that plane was like, it went to different places, believe it or not. Went to Doha, went to Lahore, and ended up being in Kandahar. It was landed in Kandahar. And guess who was protecting that plane? Taliban.
They were protecting it.
They were protecting it because they wanted to swap some of their people with the passengers. So it's a long story. We're not going to get into that. But India was humiliated by that gesture. So there is no lost love in India about Taliban. But what's interesting about these talks at this time is came on the heels of the U.S. withdrawing from Afghanistan.
So what do you think is really behind this? Because there's some big story happening here.
Well, you hit the nail on the head, Ross. The big story is a geopolitical, more than anything else. As you may know, and if not, we'll let you know right now, India and Pakistan have been in conflict forever. As a matter of fact, it's considered a Cold War between India and Pakistan.
Matter of fact, that's why both have nuclear arsenals for each other.
So, and what triggers these talks was the statement by Mahbooba Mufti. Mahbooba Mufti was the former minister of Jammu and Kashmir. Well, what's known about Kashmir? Kashmir is an autonomous. No more, because India abolished Article 370 that gives Kashmir autonomy. That's what was, and what was interesting is about the Narendra Modi willing to meet with Kashmiri's political leaders. So the interesting thing about this one is because India is realizing sooner or later Taliban is going to be in charge in Afghanistan. So for them, is a geopolitical move, is a strategic move. We better cut a deal with the Taliban now before it will be too late.
Yeah.
And why it will be too late? Because India cannot afford to fight on two fronts. In the north, they have issues with
China.
And on the border, it will be with Pakistan, because who controls ISIS, Taliban? Is certain elements within Pakistan. So you can just see why India wanted to ensure that Taliban are on their side.
Well, what do you see is going to come of this? We know that even the Pakistani government has some concern about the Taliban on their, their southwest border?
That's correct. You know, what the concerns from Pakistan is also strategic, you know, because here's the thing. If you allow India to establish close ties with Taliban, that's a problem for Pakistan, you know. There are those who say in Pakistan that Afghanistan represents a strategic depth when it comes down to its dealing with India. So basically what Afghanistan is in all this one is where the Cold War between Pakistan and India is displayed, you know, let alone that the United States does not want this rapprochement between India and Taliban.
Well, where does Iran play a role in this?
Oh, it's a big time. This is why India is looking west. And when we say west, we're not referring to the west.
The Middle East.
We're referring west in the Middle East. So west of India, basically to Iran. Why is that important? Because Iran just elected a hardliner and a conservative, you know. Remember, in our last show, we mentioned about the Chabahar port in India, in Iran, that India was allowing India to fund it and so forth. So there are some economic ties, limited now, especially after India withdrew from buying oil from Iran at the behest of the United States. So Iranians didn't forget that. So basically what India is doing right now is trying to ensure that it cannot fight on two fronts. So they want at least the least resisted one is if they cut a deal with the Taliban. That is where the reason why. And if they can, of course, convince Iran, which I don't see that happening because Iran didn't forget.
Right.
So this is why they always say what goes around comes around. No. So that's basically what it is, where that strategic move.
Was it time for the impossible question of the day?
Sure.
What we see is 50,000 Indian troops going to the Chinese border. And we don't know how bad that's going to get. We hope not bad at all, but we don't know. Do you see Pakistan taking advantage of this situation in any way?
Well, interesting you mentioned that. As a matter of fact, we're gonna do a show on India and China.
Oh yeah, I know we planned it.
Yeah, it will be very interesting to say. Well, because as a matter of fact, as we speak, without saying much about what we're gonna do in that show, is basically India now is backing down. You know, sort of. What's the word I want to say? Without losing face.
Right. Because
they know China's not gonna back down. And China's not backing down. So to India, I'd rather amend things with China on the border there and deal with the Taliban by getting closer to them. So that's one thing. Pakistan, on the other hand, is thinking about it in terms of China's not going to cut a deal with India because China has a deal with Pakistan. That's why they call them the Iron Brothers. Yeah, there is a reason to why they're doing this. And this is why, part of why Imran Khan, the Prime Minister of Pakistan, said no to the US for the drone base, because he had to take into consideration China in the equation.
Well, we've certainly seen China do major investments in Pakistan, including the port.
Exactly, and we did a video, it's going to be released soon about that one. Well, we already released that video. Yeah, it's regarding Gwadar port. So that is the reason why Pakistan is thinking strategically as to what does it mean with India's all these moves. But India also wanted to have a good relationship with Pakistan. Remember, the ceasefire that took place in 2019 after what India did in Kashmir, still holding till today, surprisingly. because the hope is that India will restore Article 370, which means the autonomous region of Kashmir.
You think it'll happen?
I don't think so. I don't think so. India tends to, India tried to play both sides. Plus, that case now is in the Supreme Court's hand. So India trying to, it tried to play nice with everybody because they know they are in a bad spot. Let alone being a member of the Quad just complicated matters for China when their economy is in shambles, when they have so many issues to deal with.
Including the pandemic.
Exactly.
Which has hit them terribly hard.
Yeah. And now with the changes on the ground in Afghanistan, that's going to hit them hard if they don't cut a deal with the Taliban. That's where things are.
Well, for our viewers, what would you say is the biggest takeaway from this?
Well, it's understanding the complexity of that region. This is no small matter in understanding how it's going to impact relations among not only the regional countries there, but on a global level. Because, this is why, for example, India is not going to go head-to-head against China. Both of them are nuclear armed. But we all know China will run over India if we'll come to that. It's not going to come to that. I'm just saying because you can't compare India to China. That's
right.
The bottom line. So, but what you get...
Pardon me, I'm laughing.
No, go ahead.
I'm just... Would China want to inherit that mess?
You're absolutely correct. And they won't.
You're right.
And they won't. So basically, geopolitically, is going to be a lot of changes in the region. And India trying to figure out what is the easiest way for us to maintain our, shall we say, relevancy. Because India, it looks to me, and I'm not judging India, I have great respect for, I have Indian friends, but in the big picture, it's more and more India's becoming irrelevant.
Yeah.
And this sudden changes in Afghanistan because, as we said last time, Taliban is going to take over, whether we want to accept it or not. I mean, it's going to change the reality on the ground. And India, by talking to Taliban, wants to ensure that things are not going to come back and bite India.
What's the bottom line here, David?
Yeah. Well, the bottom line is I hope that we don't get dragged into all this, because being dragged into this means allocating resources, U.S. resources. We've spent enough in Afghanistan for nothing, with nothing to show for. I mean, we're still, as of today, committed to giving the Afghan government $3 billion a year out of U.S. taxpayers.
It certainly is different from trillions of dollars that have been spent over the last 20.
Exactly, but it's still, why would I want to just give our tax money for some cause that have nothing to do with our benefits?
Exactly.
Your
right.
benefits. So it's reality. When I shying away from saying it, I know some do not like to hear this, but reality is what it is, and we are here to provide the fact as we know them.
Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Also, be sure to check out our other videos. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.
And as always, stay informed. Till next time. Bye-bye.